Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Communion podcast, where we traverse through the inner dwellings of the human experience through conversation. I'm your host, Danae. Join me as we explore the interconnection of creativity and community. Hello, and welcome to the 40th episode of the Conscious Communion podcast. It is a true honor and a privilege to be here with you and to have made it to the 40th episode. To begin and to just land in space with intention, I would love if we could take a few breaths together. So in your time, inhaling however feels good for you. And releasing. And 2 more times over. Dropping into this space with you and saying thank you, thank you, thank you. There's so much gratitude here for me. Having had the opportunity to utilize my voice in this way, the podcast has been such a launching pad for me in my own understanding and how I show up and interact with the world. How I hold space for others, and how I love others, and how I love myself. And when the dream of this podcast was coming to be, there was still so much that was in its infancy stage where I was really unsure of how I would raise or lead with intention in bringing this beautiful creation to life. And through the process and through the being, the act of being with what has come to be and come to life through this creation process, I have come to realize that the gift of this podcast for me is speaking with others, learning more about how the reflection of someone else's experience then translates into my own life, and then how I receive that experience and that information. And so often, I have the tendency to learn more about myself through learning about someone else's experience, and that in itself has been such a gift. That in itself is an honor. And again, through sharing my own voice and learning how I interact with others through conscious communion, I also can unravel layers about who I am, where my purpose lives, and what spirit is calling forth from my behalf. And it's been a really beautiful gift. So with so much gratitude, I am humbled and again honored to just be here doing this thing. And for those of you who have listened to the journey and who have been following, I just thank you. I just got home from a 2-week trip, returned back to Portland from visiting LA, which was where I was born and raised. And through my time, my 2-week period of visiting what was once a very familiar place, I had the opportunity to initiate myself into this invitation of interacting with what was once familiar with new skin, with a new iteration of who I am, where I am, how I feel, and how I interact with the world. And that was really beautiful, and yet it was challenging. And so I'm coming home exhausted. I've been home for about a week, and it's been hard. This week has been hard. And so I just wanted to come before you and just share a little bit of myself, a little bit of intimacy and vulnerability. Because through my visit, I was also led back into this pattern from my past of doing too much and feeling the need to meet others' needs, to people please. To see so many folks was such a great gift, and yet I did not give myself the spaciousness that I needed to recharge my own battery. So I came home depleted. That's no one's fault but my own. I could have done more to stay in tune with myself. I could have been more intentional. And yet I realized that in wearing new skin and in creating this new iteration of myself and just leaning into what that looked like to wear new skin and to be in a familiar place, that took work. And I was tired just in doing that. So I did the best that I could with the tools that I had. And so now coming home, there's been this analytical process that I've conjured, that I've gone through, that has led me to feeling guilty or not enough. And rather than beating myself up, I've chosen to really just lean in with love. And knowing that this too shall be what it is. Rather than it passing, just recognizing that it's here and it's here in my present moment. And so this weekend, I did my due diligence to take care of myself. I saw my bodywork practitioner. I saw my acupuncturist. And shared space with some incredible women, specifically today, who were incredible mirrors for me in my life and reminding me of who I am and how I get to show up and interact with the world. And so it comes back to that cyclical reminder that we are co-creating our reality with those we interact with, but more importantly, how we show up for ourselves. Healing comes from within. Healing comes from within. And so to know that so much healing has happened within my own work, I give myself the space and grace to recognize that going back home, wearing new skin, being in a place that felt familiar, being in a place that once felt reactive, that in itself took courage. And due to that, I honor myself and I honor the ability that Spirit has provided me to create a new foundation. And whenever we are embodying new skin, it may not be comfortable. So I had this whole idea, this whole plan to have a long, beautiful 40th episode. But that's not where I'm at. So I'm going to honor that. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm going to keep it short and sweet because that's what I have the capacity to give. And so much of what we know because of the society we live in is this idea of what it looks like to achieve. This idea of what it looks like to push through. And I no longer want to subscribe to that iteration of myself. And after coming home, coming back from LA, I've noticed myself reach out for those patterns myself. scheduling myself too much, doing too much. And so if healing comes from within, then what does it look like to ease into new skin with grace and compassion? For me, it looks like breath as prayer and recognizing that each breath gets to be the invitation to finding more ease in my here and now, knowing that I do not need to reach out or strive to be anything other than I am. I'm enough as I am. As I mentioned earlier, this week was hard. I felt really stagnant, even with sitting with the practices, sitting with myself. For those who know me, they know that I have a tendency to be extremely disciplined. And yet with that discipline can come this stringent nature that comes from a shadow of not feeling enough. And so having poured so much into others while I was home, my cup was empty when I came back to Portland, to my home, where I feel most like myself. And so this week has really been a cultivation of rest. And it's been represented, rest has been represented in a variety of different ways. It's looked like me laying on the couch and vegging out with Netflix. It's looked like me literally just breathing on the ground without any idea of what the purpose meant, but just leaning in with intention of just breathing and noticing my breath. Laying on an acupressure mat. Sleeping in. And threaded in the midst of all of that, I've felt the need to pick up the podcast and get things ready for breathwork and starting this beautiful, intimate practice that has been on my heart for so long. Gearing up for holding space and for being a space holder. But how do we care for ourselves first so that we can then share the service? So that's been what this week has been. And so again, in the spirit of accepting myself as I am, I hope you too can do the same for yourself. There's been so much that's been going on in our world, in the solar system. There's been so much as a collective that we've been experiencing. And I think so many of us are coming into the understanding that many of us cannot live the way that we were living. That we need to create new paradigms to enable and embody what it is that will make us feel whole. Healing means whole. To be healed means to be whole. And while we are already whole, what does it look like to accept all of ourselves and also make more spaciousness for what no longer aligns? It looks like deep trust. Something I have the tendency to struggle with. Right now I'm working my 9-to-5, which does not feel in alignment. And I have the incredible blessing to share this as a creative co-collaboration with each and every individual that I interview and with Spirit. And this feels so good for me. This is so enjoyable. It breeds purpose and passion and so much joy. And so this gets to be something that I do that fills my cup, something that, again, brings me joy. And very soon, I will additionally be sharing and expanding the vision for what the conscious communion has been for me in my heart and in my soul, with holding space as a breathwork facilitator. And I am so excited to be offering this beautiful gift to folks in the Portland area for now, folks in the LA area for when I am visiting, and watching this creative endeavor bloom into wherever spirit calls it to bloom. So again, with having this 9 to 5 that doesn't feel in alignment, and then also putting my time and energy and love and intention into the things that I care about, I've felt really exhausted as of late. And then top it off, I went home to what felt familiar, to where felt reactive for a very long time. And I got to see myself take shape and lean in to this new iteration of Danae, where I got to remind my nervous system and my spirit that I was safe to be me, that I was safe to not react out of haste, out of past trauma, out of fear. And I got to accept my family for who they are and not try to fix, in quotations, anything. So I, again, am just letting you know where I'm at, because this too gets to be a part of this. Where are you? Where are you in your journey? How have you been feeling? I know so many people in my own community are feeling that exhaustion. People are exhausted. There's so much growth in the happening for us all. There's so much that we've been discovering and uncovering about our collective consciousness, and then in turn, how we perceive ourselves as a part of the collective consciousness. Give yourself the space and the grace and the ability to love yourself as you are. As you are. I say it so often, but it is the thing that I know to be most true for me in my experience. I am nature, and so are you. And as we close out the summer, with only weeks left, we are entering into a new season, a new cycle. Love yourself as you are in this season, in this iteration, so that you can give yourself all that you need to transition into the next cycle, into the next iteration, because you are worthy in each and every version of you. Just as the leaves are just as beautiful when they're green and lush as they are when they turn yellow and red and orange. And then when they fall, what a gift, for they nourish the earth. I love you. I hope you are doing so well. I hope you can meet yourself and each and every edge that feels uncomfortable, to know that it doesn't need to be fixed, but then in loving yourself and in recognizing what may feel sticky you can embolden yourself to have more grace and space for what has maybe not had the spaciousness to be only what it is and nothing else. Oftentimes it's us wanting to fix something that creates the stagnancy. Lean into yourself with love. And as I leave you off today, I would love to leave you off with a question. How can you love yourself more wholly, more completely, so that nothing's missed? Would love to take a deep breath with you to close out this space and send you off on your way. Breathing in however feels good for you. And exhaling with a sigh. Loving you wherever you're at in every single way. All the love, all the peace, all the blessings. Take care of yourself. Hey there, it's Danae again. Just wanted to say thank you for sharing your time and energy with me. If this podcast resonates, please like, subscribe, follow, and share if you're willing. Reviews help too, so if you're feeling the vibe, please leave a review where you can. Sending all the love. Peace.